What is up, everyone, and welcome to the Game Week 16 deadline stream. How are you guys doing? Welcome to another stream, another weekend, and a lot to unpack, a lot to discuss. I think it's going to be another chaotic game week. I'm not expecting a huge score in terms of the median score, the average score, which was also the case last week. Unless you kind of had a spick and span and a perfect team, I don't think so. You would have scored very high, and probably I'm expecting another game week to go by like that because of the fact that there is Newcastle and Tottenham, because of the fact that a lot of these teams, a lot of our players for this week are playing away games. And I think it's going to be a low scoring week, but again, we have to keep our patience. We have to kind of be at it because of course the game weeks coming thick and fast because of so many injuries, so many niggles, players leaving for AFCON, players leaving for Asia Cup and all that stuff. I think it's going to be really interesting in terms of how we tackle this whole December and the January period as well. Of course, if we get players like Haaland, Salah, of course Salah is going to leave, but we get players like Haaland or some other options who are probably going to be popular options and they get injured, I think it's going to be mental. It's going to be absolutely chaos. Of course, this week was probably overshadowed a little bit by the Mbeumo injury. I think a lot of us had Mbeumo in our teams. Probably we were thinking of getting him, and then I think it was a lucky escape. But I think for people who had him, it's pretty much a straightforward transfer that he has to go out. Of course, there are multiple array of options in terms of where you can go as a transfer, depending, of course, on whether you want to save some money, whether you want to, invest some additional money. Maybe you have some extra money, extra funds in the bank and all that stuff. And of course, we'll talk about replacements. I'm sure there are going to be a few questions around those as well. But as always, if you're new around here, please feel free to subscribe to the channel, like the stream as well. It really helps us with the YouTube algorithm. And let's get started. I think it's going to be a little less than an hour, but we'll make sure that we get all the questions in place. If we have any leaks, etc., if we have any information that, of course, we can share with you, we'll also kind of try to do that there as well. Hey, Don, hello to you. Welcome to the stream. Should I do Colville or Pedro Porro in for cash or Guehi and Son in for Mbeumo? I think, if I'm looking at defender options, I think unless you really don't have any Newcastle options or Arsenal options, because they still are better defenders, better defensive options for me. And of course, when I talk about Newcastle, it's Share. When I talk about Arsenal, it's most likely, one of Ben White and Silva, because they're the most nailed options. Otherwise, any of those defenders from Newcastle and Arsenal probably can get benched. So unless you don't have that in place, you of course go towards that. But in case if you are looking for an option which is not a Newcastle option or a Arsenal defender, I think Pedro Porro is a really good option. The only negative or downside with Pedro Porro is that Spurs probably aren't going to keep a lot of clean sheets. Even in the easier games, I don't think so they're going to keep cleans. And that's the slight worry here because of the fact that, they're probably not going to keep many clean sheets. Pedro Porro, yes, he can definitely get us attacking returns. Over the last 4 or 5 game weeks, especially since Maddison has gotten injured, he has been getting some really good XGI numbers. He's been getting involved a lot. He has been creating a lot of chances. And when you see Tottenham playing, when you see Porro playing, you can absolutely see that he can get us attacking returns. And I think that's the biggest plus or an advantage with the Porro right now. I think if you're okay with the risk of probably missing out on clean sheets, because he's definitely going to be involved in the attacking outplay, especially till the time Maddison is injured. I think he's going to be very attacking. And I think Spurs, we kind of know now that Spurs are only going to play that one-way attacking sort of football. They're not going to be defensive. They're not going to sit back and defend. So that's hence the reason of, them not getting clean sheets. But I think Pedro Porro right now is looking like a better option than Colwell, because Chelsea is a big unknown right now. Yes, they probably have the best run of fixtures from now till I think gaming 2021, something like that. But the fact that Chelsea have been so poor, Sanchez has been so poor in goal, defensively they look all over the place. Yes, in terms of attack, we can say that, we can go for a couple of attackers, but the question here is about getting a defender, which is a bit tricky. So sitting here right now with the information I have, irrespective of the fixtures, I think Pedro Porro looks like the better option. With a Colville, you are depending mostly on a clean sheet. Yes, there's a huge price difference, I think, as well between Colville and I think Porro. But let's assume that price is not a factor here. And if it isn't, I think Pedro Porro is a better option than a Colville. With Colville, as I said, not much attacking threat, certain threat from set pieces on, corners, etc. But again, we can't really guarantee returns week in week out there. And of course, Chelsea aren't really keeping any clean sheets. Well, I think in the last 8, they haven't kept a single clean sheet. Till from the start of the season, they've only kept about 3 clean sheets. So not very confident there about going for Colville, I think Pedro Porro is definitely the better option. Plus, Gohi as well. Cash or Gohi, I think you can probably. I mean, I'm not sure about Cash keeping his place, and that's the worry here. And I think if you're taking out one defender, I think it's probably going to be Cash. Of course, Gohi also kind of deserves to be out of your FPL team, but I think Cash probably is more expensive. He's going to take up the Aston Villa spot, which you may reroute, especially when the Aston Villa options or the games get better. So maybe Cash doesn't become an option. Some other defender from Aston Villa becomes an option. Who knows what's going to happen in those 3 or 4 game weeks? But I think now taking out Cash is absolutely fine. Going for Pedro Porro is absolutely okay, and getting in Son in, I mean, it may not be the most ideal game week for getting in Son, considering the fact that he has a doubt or he is a doubt. I still feel he's gonna feature, he's gonna play some minutes, may not be in the starting 11 from the word go, but I do feel that he's gonna get some minutes. There was some doubt about his involvement, but again, it's not a confirmed no. And I don't think so. It's a long-term injury. Yes, I mean, you can always argue that he's probably going to leave very soon in January and all that stuff, but I still think he's a really, really good option. So in case if you're looking at a replacement for Mboma and if you don't have Son, I think the better week is next week or game week 17. But I think this week as well, it's a slight risk, but I think you're kind of getting in Son for those next 3 or 4 game weeks, which I think should be okay. Hey Brian, hello to you. Welcome to the stream. I've been good. I hope you've been good as well. Do you think Silva is worth the extra 0.5 over Colwell? I personally don't think so. As I said just now, I'm not trusting the Chelsea defense just yet. I think there needs to be a couple of games where we see them playing out those easier fixtures with a very strong defensive performance. Right now, we've not seen that. We don't have any inkling that that's probably going to even happen. And I think right now, probably talking about any of those Chelsea defensive options, I'm not very sure. And right now, at this moment, I don't think Silva is worth that extra 0.5 because of the fact that you are depending on clean sheets for either Silva or Colville. I think Colville is nailed. Silva probably can also miss out an odd game, considering the fact that there's so many games from now, till the start of January. I think there is a possibility that Colville is maybe getting more minutes than Silva. So personally, I don't think so. There's any need to spend that additional money unless we, get a Reece James, for example, who's quite attacking or who supposedly should be attacking. But of course, he's not the Reece James of old, and there needs to be certain expectation correction there. But unless we have somebody like that who can, raise his hand up and become an FPL option for us, I don't think so. Anything apart from Colville makes more sense at the moment. Hey, Soumya, hello to you. Hello to you. Welcome to the stream. Going to Pedro Porro from Gabriel. From Gabriel to Porro doesn't really look like a huge upgrade. Though having said that, Porro is definitely way more attacking than a Gabriel. But again, Arsenal's probably a lot more safer in terms of clean sheets. Having said that, again, they've also kind of struggled to close out games. And I think in terms of minutes, I think Porro still outscores or outshines or, outplays Gabriel. Gabriel, again, has the probability of missing out an odd game, but I generally don't think so. Gabriel is probably going to be rested or, he'll be benched for a different option. So from Pedro Porro to Gabriel, isn't the most ideal move. If this was Cash, if this was a Crystal Palace defender, if this was probably even Tsimikas, I think a lot of people are now focusing their efforts or focusing their money towards a Trent or a Trippier. At least the attempt is there. So even maybe moving from a Tsimikas makes more sense than probably, moving out a Gabriel to a Porro. Areola, Saliba, Tsimikas, Porro, Son, Gordon, Salah, Saka, Palmer, Watkins, Haaland. I think this is probably one of the most, probably gonna be the template team or the popular team from now at least. Let's see what happens next week, but at least this week, I think Areola may not be played by a lot of people. If you don't have an option, of course, you'll probably end up playing Areola. He may not start this week. I think that there's a genuine possibility of that happening. And of course, if you have Dubravka, I think that's the popular combination with a Saliba or a Gabriel. I think Tsimikas, Porro, Son, Gordon, Saka, all is pretty template picks, and I think they're going to be very popular. Is buying a Fulham defender a bad move? It's not really a great move considering the fact that they generally don't keep a lot of clean sheets there. Yes, there is a slight argument that, they're probably slightly better than last season, but I still feel they're better defenders. Even if you look at the Fulham defense, right? And if you're looking at their options, I think you'll probably go with, Ream, who's been a regular. You'll probably go with Robinson, who's been playing a lot of games and who's been getting minutes. Then there's Castagna as well. I just don't feel that there is enough for us to basically go with the Fulham defender. Considering the fact that they are 4.5, 4.4, 4.5 again, in that 4.5-ish category, just don't think that there's enough to motivate us or to kind of convince us to go for a Fulham defender. I think in a similar price range, you're getting somebody like a Livramento, yes, who's still expected to miss out a few games here and there, but he's still probably one of the playing for one of the best defenses in the Premier League. Plus, then you have the likes of a Chelsea defender here as well, who could be a cheap 4.5-ish million option. So I think there are enough defenders to look at and not probably look at the Fulham defense. And if we're looking at defenders, I think Arsenal, Newcastle, hunting on maybe a Chelsea defender. I mean, that's definitely an outlet. Whether it's a successful one, of course, we'll get to know in the next 3 or 4 game weeks. But I think those are certain options where you can definitely look at when we are looking at defenders. And yes, Cash is a tricky one because you would expect him to play certain minutes or get certain game time, but I just feel it's a bit tricky because in Cash's position, I think there are a lot of options, and I think Emery can definitely chop and change, can do some experiments, can give players some rest. In that scenario, maybe Cash gets minutes, but I think it's going to be sporadic. I don't think so it's going to be very regular, and I think that is the reason I think Cash coming in that 4.9, 4, I think he's now 4.8. He's dropped from 5 to 4.8, and I think again at that price point, I think they're better defenders. My thoughts are home fixtures this game week. I mean, definitely home form is, it should be considered. I think teams generally play a lot better and a lot, I would say, more attacking when they're playing at home. So from that logic, makes more sense. But again, if this plan is, it's just, I mean, if it's just for 1 week, again, I'm still struggling to, convince myself in my head that, I would probably go for a Fulham defender, considering it's West Ham as well, right? I know West Ham away aren't really as good as what they are at home, which is again traditionally the argument for I think most of the Premier League teams. But I do feel unless this is a chop and change and you're probably going to a different defender next week, I think I'm still not able to convince myself. I think there's still better defenders to go for. Is Areola out? I mean, there's a doubt considering the fact that he had some issue with his wrist, so he's definitely not out. But again, he's definitely not. I mean, I can't really say that he's definitely going to start here as well. So I think there was some issue with his ligament, some ligament damage in his wrist. It sounds very scary. It sounds that he's probably going to be out. Moyes always is very cagey in terms of what he says in his press conferences, and you probably cannot get anything out of his press conferences because he just gives you that vague response that, we'll see what happens tonight. We'll see what happens tomorrow. We'll have to probably wait for a training session to gauge and understand what's going to happen with his level, etc. But I'm not very sure about him starting. If there's a problem with his wrist and it's a ligament damage, I can't see how he starts this game week. Best replacement for Areola, I think if you don't want to spend any money or much money, I think Dubravka is still okay. Yes, they got beat by Everton 3-0 last week, but again, I don't think so it's going to happen. I think that they're still okay. Yes, they may not get as many clean sheets as probably we are expecting, and we're all thinking that Dubravka is probably going to be immense and he's going to be a really, really good option. Considering he's 4 million and considering he's playing for Newcastle, considering the fact that Pope is also going to be out for the next 4 or 5 months, and Newcastle cannot register a player. I mean, of course, they can sign a player before January, but they cannot register a player before January. So at least till the end of this month, I think Dubravka is absolutely okay. So I think, logically thinking that goalkeepers this season haven't really, I mean, there's not one goalkeeper that you can say that is a standout option. And, he's making a lot of saves. He's a great budget pick and all that stuff. I think Dubravka is okay. But if you want to maybe, go invest a little bit more, if you have some additional money and if you want to spend some more money on a goalkeeper, I think there is Raya from Arsenal. If you have an Arsenal spot open, let's say if you don't have 3 Arsenal players right now and you're okay, maybe going with one of those defenders from the Arsenal team and then a goalkeeper, which is basically like a double up on their defense. I think in that scenario, Raya is also okay. There's Sanchez, but again, as I said about the Chelsea defense, not very sure, not very confident about their clean sheet potential just yet. Need to see a couple of games at least and then kind of figure out if, if Sanchez can become an option. I think Keller or Kelleher, howsoever, I always get this pronunciation wrong, but he is not an option. If he is in your team, then I think it's probably a bit tricky because Alisson is probably expected to get game time very, very soon. If it's not this week, it's probably going to be next week. And I don't think so there's any comparison between an Alisson and a Kelleher, for example. I think the difference is massive. I think the gap is huge. And I don't think so Alisson's going to be out anytime or more time than expected because of the fact that he's so important for that Liverpool defense. There have been numerous or probably zillion occasions where, he's bailed out the Liverpool defense and they've got a lucky clean sheet. And, you've got points of a Trent or a Simicast and all that stuff. So I think Alisson's going to return very soon. So I don't see him or Keller becoming an option. So I think these are 3 or 4 options that I'll probably look at in terms of an Areola replacement. I want to play Alvarez, but who should I drop? Gordon, Bowen, or Palmer? I mean, it's a very, very difficult call. I think Gordon, Bowen, and Palmer, I think all are really, really good options. I mean, you can always argue for Gordon because of the fact that it's away, but again, it's Spurs, and we know again how Spurs are going to play. They're going to play all out attacking, and that's going to leave a lot of spaces behind in the defense. And I think those spaces and those attacking positions can be occupied by Gordon. And he's been in good form when we look at the Newcastle attack. I think he's the one that is sticking that Newcastle attack right now. So it's difficult to bench him. Then you have Bowen, who's doing all the good things. It's a good fixture for West Ham. Yes, it's away for West Ham, home for Fulham. Could be a decent game for Fulham as well. But I still feel if somebody's going to score from that West Ham team, I mean, that it's going to be, it's going to be Bowen who's going to be involved in some sort of attacking play, whether it's an assist, whether it's a goal. I think he's the one who's going to be on that, attacking score sheet, or he's going to be involved in basically the attacking plays. So again, it's difficult to also bench him. And then Palmer, I mean, with Palmer, it's Everton away, which can always be a tricky game. But again, he's on pens, he's on set pieces. And then Alvarez has Luton. It's not an easy call. I think if I had to bench one, I think it's going to be between Palmer and probably Alvarez. And if you really want to play Alvarez, I think I'll end up playing Bowen, and I'll also play. I'll bench Palmer basically. I think that it's not ideal, but I think that's what I'll do, because see, all these 4 options can easily score this week, can easily get you points. So when you're benching one, and I'm assuming that this is because of the fact that you have 8 good attackers. So when you're benching one, it's always a risk that one of those attackers can absolutely blow your score out of the game, out of the park this week. And if he's on your bench, I think it's going to be a huge loss. So I think irrespective of whosoever you bench, I think that particular player will have the capability or potential to do well this week. But if I'm benching one, and if you really have to play Alvarez, I think I'll bench Palmer. Is it worth to take a -4 for Areola out for a goalkeeper? Depends if this is depends on a few factors here. I think -4, I'm assuming that you would take because of the fact that you've probably taken out Mbomo. Keller is not an option. A Liverpool goalkeeper, still feel I can attack more with Liverpool, considering the fact that they have a better attack than defense. Worst case scenario, I would probably make a plan or rearrange my funds to, get a Trent, because I don't think so an Alisson, a Keller, I don't think so Keller anyways becomes an option. But I think Alisson cannot at all cover a Trent, for example, right? Because Trent has brilliant attacking outplay. He has his great statistics. He's looking good in the last 4 or 5 game weeks. And with Alisson, of course, you can get a dodgy or lucky assist, but it's mostly going to be a clean sheet, which of course a Trent will give you, but a lot more for a very high price as well. So if I'm really going for a defender there, I'll probably break the bank and probably look away for getting in Trent. But if I can't, I'll probably try to maximize on the Liverpool double attack, for example, because they are a really good attack. So I can complement a Salah with a Darwin. I can complement a Salah with a different midfielder, and I think that is where I'll probably look at, not a Liverpool goalkeeper. As I said, I think it's okay taking a hit for Areola out. Though Areola again may not be, gone for a long time. So in case if you don't have Dubravka, if you have a Newcastle spot open, you can definitely get in Dubravka. Cheaper option, doesn't really break the bank, isn't really affecting your, your money in the bank if there is something remaining in it. And I think it's absolutely fine. I personally, Sanchez, Raya are options, but I don't think so. I would probably, suggest to go there. I think it's okay to go Dubravka, because that 0.6, 0.7, 0.5, whatever that additional money that you'll probably be saving over a Sanchez or over a Raya, I think that can be very, very useful in terms of making certain upgrades in your midfield or your defense, for example. I think that could be a difference between a, if with certain money in the bank, it could be a difference between a share and a Trippier. I know there's a huge price difference there, but you get the point, right? I mean, there could be some meaningful upgrades that you can do with that additional money, which I don't think so. A Dubravka or let's say a Raya or a Sanchez over a Dubravka is probably going to give you, because the upside with goalkeepers is not very high. Edward plus Kohi plus Empomo to Solanke, Porro, and Bowen. What do you think? I have already made those transfers. Also, who do you prefer, Bowen or Gordon? I prefer Bowen for sure. Or at least over the next couple of games, I think Bowen is really good. Those are really good fixtures. He said the right things in his press or in the press. Basically, West Ham are really dependent on him. He's the main attacker for West Ham, and it's gonna be like that. So I think, I think I like Bowen more than Gordon. Don't think so anyone or both of them are at any risk in terms of minutes. I think both of them will get majority minutes. Right now, it doesn't feel that they have any major injury scares or injury issues, and I think they should be okay. So yeah, Solanke, Porro, Bowen, I think it's a very attacking trio. A lot of people are thinking of if Solanke is your third attacker or third striker, basically if you're playing a 3-4-3, for example. I think as a third striker, Solanke is a really good option. Can give you some. I mean, again, it depends, right? If who would have been your fifth midfielder? Would it have been let's say a Palmer, for example, or are you sacrificing on, let's say, maybe one of Salah, Saka, not Salah, maybe Son, Saka, somebody there. So I think your third striker will directly be competing with your fifth midfielder here. And I think if you feel that Solanke is probably going to be better than your fifth midfielder option, I think it's a good move. Solanke or Gordon for the upcoming weeks, as I said, right? I think I still feel if I'm looking at one, I'll probably still look at Gordon because of the fact that, he gets one more point for a goal, he gets one more point for a clean sheet, and it's Newcastle. Yes, I know Solanke is, again, probably going to be one of the main attackers or main options for Bournemouth, but I do feel, fixtures of Bournemouth are absolutely fine. So in case if you want to take a punt, I think this is the time you go for that punt. This is the player you go for that, you basically take your punt on. But yeah, I still feel I would, personally, I would go for Gordon, but I think Solanke is the more ballsy move. I think it's the more differential move, and I think, you can definitely get lucky with it. He has all the signs for getting, a good amount of points over the next few weeks. Consider the fact that it's Luton in 17, then it's Forest in 18, then it's Fulham at home in 19. I think those three are really, really good fixtures. So, and United away again, United can definitely concede goals. So you can definitely get lucky. And I think if you're going for a differential route, I think Solanke is pretty good. James is fit to play. I think he is fit to play. Whether he plays, I do think that he plays, considering the fact that he didn't start the last game as well. And we do not have a proper or a concrete update saying that he's not fine or etc. I still feel that he's going to play this week. I'm not sure whether he's the right pick from Chelsea right now. We have to adjust. I know there's a lot of nostalgia around James and, a lot of preconceived notion around James in terms of how he has been as an FPL pick. But we have to kind of adjust our expectation here because of the fact that he's not the same James as he was maybe last season or the season prior to that, right? And this is where I think a lot of us are faltering because of the fact that we've seen James playing in a very attacking role under Thomas Tuchel and giving us a lot of assists, goals, FPL points, FPL returns. I do think it's not the same James, it's not the same team, it's not the same formation as well. So I think there is a lot to learn here, I think, in terms of the Chelsea defense. And I don't think so. I do think James is okay to play, and I do think that he's going to play, a decent chunk of minutes from now till the end of December. Yes, he's still prone to that injury, and I think that's the major worry. There are two things with James which doesn't work for me. I think it's for number one is his fitness issues and injury issues and fitness concerns. I don't think so. He's a player who will give you 90 minutes week in, week out. Right now, he doesn't look like that sort of a player. Plus, right now, again, he doesn't look like a Porro, for example, right? He probably doesn't have the same attacking threat. Yes, you can say that with good fixtures or with easier teams, I think that could probably change. And I think that's what we have to see in the next couple of weeks. If we see some inkling, or if we have some idea that we're getting the James of old, I think then it becomes a better option, or he becomes a viable pick. But right now, I think not sure if he's the right move. Dubravka, Sanchez, as I said, I think it's good to go Dubravka. You can save some money over Sanchez, and I think you can invest that money just keep it in the bank. Maybe you might have to take some player out in case if, let's say, a Gordon gets injured or Palmer gets injured or somebody, right? You might need some money to make certain upgrades elsewhere. So I think just keep that extra money and just go with Dubravka. What do you think of Bowen as a captain? Not sure about his potential as a captain. I think Salah, if I'm going for an option, I think Saka probably if it was a different team, not Aston Villa, especially at home. I think it's going to be Haaland. It's going to be, Salah in case if you're looking for a differential. Huge risk, but I think Darwin could be a decent pick as well. But I'm not sure about. I mean, Bowen could be, but I think I would still prefer my bets on a Salah or a Haaland this week. Start Areola or Turner. I think if you have Areola, you start Areola. Of course, if he doesn't work out, then he's definitely going to get go on your bench, and then you will get Turner from your bench. Turner again has not played over the last 4 or 5 game weeks, I think. So I'm not again sure whether he gets some gets some game time. So in case if you have a transfer available, probably just make that transfer to a Dubravka. At least you're getting a goalkeeper who's probably going to get minutes in the next few weeks or few game weeks. So I think, I mean, you can of course start Areola, but I personally don't think so either of them are going to get minutes this game week. Yeah, I have Chang and want to replace Mbomo. Whom should I go for? Gordon, Palmer, Sterling, or someone else? See, going with the Chelsea option is a slightly risk. I mean, with Palmer, of course, you're going safer because of the fact that majority of people now have the combination of Gordon plus Palmer. In case if you want to go a little bit differential, if you're okay with the risk, I think Sterling is also a good differential. He's risky because of the fact that he's not on penalties, not on set pieces. The points outlets are, of course, a little lesser than what Palmer offers you. And, of course, there's a huge price difference. So in case if you want to save some price, I think Palmer is a great pick. Decent fixtures. Yes, we have to, again, adjust our expectations that he's not probably going to be very attacking in terms of, giving us the right XG data or giving us the right attacking stats. Yes, sometimes penalties or whenever penalties happen, they do inflate those XG numbers. But again, can we really guarantee that Palmer gets a penalty every game week? I'm not very, very sure about that. So going by the logic, Sterling, of course, makes a little more sense. But then again, if you want to utilize that additional money, let's say if you go Palmer, if you don't choose Sterling, and if you're going with Palmer, I think you will end up saving maybe 1.5, 1.6, something like that. And if you want to utilize that, if you need that money, I think in that case you go Palmer. You save that money, utilize that money to make certain upgrades, maybe in your defense, maybe change a Darwin, maybe change a Watkins, something like that. But at least have that safety net so that you can use that money later. And by that logic, I think Palmer makes sense. And I think that is what I kind of went for. In case if you have some additional money, I think Bowen, I still feel Bowen is the preferred pick here. If I'm replacing an Mbomo, and if I have some additional money in the bank, I would have gone for a Bowen. I think I was 0.3 million short. I'm not sure about you. If you are not short of that money, if you have some additional money, I think go with the Bowen. I think Bowen is a really good pick. You already have Chang from Wolves, so I think it's okay. And yeah, I mean, you can also go for Gordon, but I do feel if you're okay with the slight risk, I think a Chelsea option could be decent as early on, because I in spite of not having a lot of faith in Chelsea as a team, I do think there is some value in that attack, and I think Palmer could be decent. Bowen or Gordon, I think it's close, but I do feel it's Bowen for me. Over the next couple of weeks, I think Bowen has good fixtures. You can take him for the next 2 weeks, and if it doesn't work out, you can probably change him. I think 18. Let me just see what game week or what fixture, Bowen has in game week 18. So it's Man United in game week 18. If you want to change him, you can probably change him then. And then this Arsenal in game week 19. So if it's not worked out for a couple of weeks, I think you can basically change a Bowen to a Gordon, because Gordon at that time would be having some decent fixtures. This week it's Spurs and then Fulham away. I mean, they're also decent, but I think Bowen has better fixtures. And then you can get in a Gordon for game week 18, unless again you have some other fires to put out. But yeah, I think if you have the money, go with Bowen over the next 2. See him out. If it doesn't work out, switch to a Gordon. Gordon has good fixtures in 18 and 19 before he moves to Liverpool away and Man City at home. I think those are going to be, plus Aston Villa at Aston Villa's home and Newcastle away fixture for Newcastle. I think those 3 are going to be tricky. But I think if Bowen does well, then you can even hold him, and you can easily make a case for holding him. and getting him in your team. So I think Bowen over Gordon for sure. So I think my rating for an Mbeumo replacement is Bowen number 1, number 2 would be Gordon, and I think number 3 would be again Sterling or Palmer, depending on your risk appetite and which direction, whether you want a differential or not, whether you want some additional money or not. I think for me it's Palmer, but I think yeah, that's where I am. Especially when you in your team you already have a Wang, or if Wang is already in place. If Wang is again a part of these 3 or 4 options, I still feel my ranking would probably slightly change here with again Bowen number 1, Gordon number 2. I still feel there is enough or decent value in going with Wang from Wolves. I think he would be number 3 right now, and I think Palmer would be number 4. I know a lot of people would say that he has tougher fixtures, or Wolves has tougher fixtures, but I do feel Wolves have a goal in them. I do feel they can score goals, and from whatever we've seen or whatever, if you are seeing games, I think you can easily understand that he is the main goal threat. Yes, you can always say that sometimes he can get lucky or Wolves can get lucky in getting a goal, but again, that's football at the end of the day, and I think if you're looking for one attacking option from Wolves, I think he has to be the pick from Wolves. Hey Kiran, I am doing well. I hope you're doing well as well. Is it worth taking cash out for Colwell? I think it is. Or Robinson for a -4. I think I'll go if I'm going for one. See, if I'm going out, taking out cash, basically, I'll probably look at my Newcastle defenders and my Arsenal defenders. If those are in place, then I think taking a risk with Colville as well is absolutely fine. You already have Saliba, Porro, and Tsimikas in your current 11. I think if you have some additional money, I don't think so. Share is a bad pick because of the fact that Spurs, I'm not expecting a clean sheet in Game Week 16 in the Newcastle game, but then again, 17, 18, 19 are really good fixtures. Fulham home, Luton away, and Forest at home. I think those are really, really good fixtures. So you can absolutely go with him. I understand the temptation to go for a Chelsea defender because of the fact that they have slightly better fixtures. I mean, the best fixtures from now till I think Game Week 21. But yeah, I mean, we've not really seen much from the Chelsea defense. Their numbers are poor. They're playing really badly. It's difficult to recommend a Chelsea defender. If I was in your position, I probably would have taken Share or a Newcastle defender. And if you can afford Share, definitely him. But yeah, in case if you don't want to go there, I think Colwell is okay. But yeah, I mean, have kind of temper your expectations a little bit because of the fact that he may not, or Chelsea may not keep clean sheets, and you probably will have to take him out at some point because of the fact that there might be certain other options that emerge. And again, we can't really keep having Chelsea defenders in, especially when they're not keeping clean sheets. Also because of the fact that we can't really expect a lot or anything more than a clean sheet from those Chelsea defenders. I think apart from James, again, if we can see, or if we see some attacking threat, and if we see that he's getting assists, maybe gets an odd goal, because he does have an odd goal in him. And if you see that, it's a different story. But I think right now it's just clean sheets are nothing for Chelsea, and I think right now I'm not very, very convinced about Chelsea defense. Mbeumo to Palmer or Bowen, I think I've kind of answered that already. I think it'll be Bowen for me, unless again you need that additional money and you want to invest that money in maybe getting a Trippier, getting a Trent, maybe upgrading a second striker if it's a Solanke, or maybe somebody else. If you need that money, I think that's the only argument to go for a Palmer. But I think Bowen is good. Sterling's differential, I think Sterling is again Palmer, Sterling, both of course from Chelsea, both have decent potential. Palmer, you can say set pieces and penalties. Sterling, you can say that he's probably has more direct goal threat as compared to a Palmer. But again, the conversation is slightly different, and it's probably a little bit unfair to compare both because of the huge price difference between the both. And also because of the fact that everybody is going Palmer because of that flexibility, as well as he does help you save some money. And then you can utilize that money elsewhere to get a better balance on your overall team. So that logic, I think, makes more sense to a lot of people. And maybe a fair amount of managers are kind of afraid to, go the differential route. And that's why I think Sterling is kind of, not really spoken about a lot, but I do think he's a good option. And if you're okay with the risk, and if you don't need that additional money, if you're very well settled in terms of your team, if you're pretty confident about your defenders, if there's no issues in terms of, any upgrades that you want to make, I think Sterling is good. Simikasu Colwell this week for Guehi. I mean, Simikas, I'm not sure about Tsimikas because of the fact that we've already seen with him that there is a tendency in Klopp to bench him, and he's also mentioned it very clearly that he's not going to play every game, uh, and that really kind of takes away the confidence, from a Tsimikas. I think Colwell does feature in most games. Having said that, we've not really seen Tsimikas also doing a lot from an attacking standpoint. I mean, yes, he did get one decent 15 pointer against Brentford, but other than that, it's mostly been clean sheets and yeah, in that 4-3 game against Fulham he did get an assist, but then again it's 4 goals and he's just got one attacking return. Of course, no chance of a clean sheet there, and that's a slight worry. So I think logically it makes more sense to go for Colwell, but again, I'm personally not very convinced with the Chelsea defense, and at this point I think it's still going to be Tsimikas. So again, not very confident in Tsimikas as well. But out of the two, at least, I think Tsimikas is probably the better option right now. And I think this week as well, I'm expecting Tsimikas to get minutes. So I think, I mean, if I'm looking at just purely this week, I think Palace away, I think it could be a decent game. I still expect it to be a close game, and I don't expect Liverpool to run away with it. But I do think there's a potential that he gets a start. Plus, it's the first or the early kickoff, right? Or the first kickoff. So we might get some information or some leak around the Liverpool lineup. So do, keep an eye out for that as well. But yeah, if there's no information, I think right now with the information that we have, I think Tsimikas is good or better at least. And then we can switch to Colwell if Chelsea suddenly becomes a great defense, and we have a couple of options, and Colwell in particular to go to. My last 2 weeks were shit. Mine too. I mean, I think it's just been a struggle this season to gain any sort of momentum. Few weeks it's good. I think I was having a couple of really good weeks. I think game week 9 to game week 13 they were consistent green arrows. Then 14, 15 have been two really, really bad red arrows. And I think my rank from 400k or something like that has gone down to 920. I think 922k. That's almost more than double. So yeah, it's just been. I mean, last week was a very low scoring game. The week before that, if you had the right combination of players, I think you would at least hit the average mark. And this week as well, I think I'm expecting this to be a low scoring game week as well. And yeah, just don't get disappointed. I think don't get disheartened. At the end of the day, it's still a game. I know we invest ourselves too much into this, and it becomes a major part of our daily lives. But I do think that there needs to be a point where we kind of check out, and we don't get affected by it so much that we are not able to live our lives the regular way. So I think, yeah, expecting this week as well to be a low scoring week. And I think there's a template that has already emerged in terms of Gordon, Palmer, going with Son, Saka, Salah, I think Watkins, Haaland, and those three defenders. Basically a 3-5-2 with an Arsenal defender and a Newcastle defender, and probably, one of Tsimikas or maybe a double up on one of those defenses, Newcastle and Arsenal. I think that's the template that has kind of emerged right now. There's about 20 minutes to go, I think. If you have any more questions, please feel free to add that or those in the chat. And of course, we'll help you out. We'll quickly browse through Twitter as well, in case if we have any leaks, in case if we have any information to share. In terms of Areola, I think I personally think he's a doubt this week. And I mean, I still do feel that he's probably not going to feature. But in case if you have a Turner, for example, I think it makes more sense. Even if it's for a hit, I think it makes more sense to take Areola out, go for a Dubravka. In case if you have a playing goalkeeper and if you have Areola as your number one option, I think just see out this game week. Maybe it's not worth a hit. If you have a luxury move or a free transfer available, then maybe you can change Areola straight away and go for Dubravka here. But I do think he's probably not going to get minutes. Son is a bit interesting because Son is, of course, occupying a major position in our FPL teams. He's one of the most important players, I think, apart from or after Salah and Haaland. I think he is the most important option. He's expensive, so he's taking up a lot of our funds. From whatever we know, I don't think so. It's a long-term injury, or it's something that we need to be very worried about. There might be a chance that he may not start this week, but I do feel that he's going to get minutes. And right now, I don't think so. It's the time to suddenly start panicking. Of course, if you were planning to take out Son, I think this is probably going to be, or if you don't have Son already, I think this is probably not a week where you get in Son. And if you want to take him out, or if you were already planning to take him out, I think it's probably just a lucky game week where you can minimize the damage a little bit. I don't know about next week or the coming weeks, but yeah, I mean, there's that argument of him leaving for the Asia Cup as well, and that's still, again, it's still a long time to go. And Tottenham with Son, I think, are a different machine. I think they're really, really attacking, and I think there's a lot of potential, even the tougher games, right? If Son is playing or starting this week, I think against Newcastle at home, I think he could still do well. He did score against Man City as well. Then there's Forest and Everton in 17-18, and those are good fixtures as well. So I think not having Son, huge risk, but that's what you do or what you take, right? I mean, you cannot have all the players, all the template picks as well, and then have that sort of a team, because you'll ultimately end up missing somebody, right? A lot of teams might look similar to mine. Maybe Watkins instead of Darwin, and they don't have a Bowen, for example, right? So, or a Sterling, for example. So those could be options which could really help you gain a lot of good rank. Hey, hello to you. Welcome to the stream. I'm good. I hope you're doing good as well. Your current team is Haaland, Alvarez, Isak. So basically playing 3 forwards. Then Wang, Saka, Salah, Diaby. Pau Torres, I'm assuming. Maguire, Taylor, Sanchez in goal. Your benches, Areola, Mbomo, Simicas, Lascelles. I think I'll still play Simicas ahead of a Torres, for example. I think even a Taylor. I think I will play. I'll take my chances with the Lascelles and Simicas, play them ahead of Taylor and Pau Torres. I have no free transfers left. Should I take a hit and make any other transfers? I mean, in terms of the playing 4, I think Haaland, Alvarez, Isak is a good 3. So that means you don't really have to take out Mbomo. So the only issue with that is that, yes, you can easily bench him, play a 3-4-3, as I can see that you've done here. But the issue with that is that you're probably going to lose value from an Mbomo. So if you don't want to do that, maybe you can change Mbomo and you'll still be benching a decent 8th attacker, whether it's Isak, whether it's a Diaby. I don't think so you're going to bench Saka or Salah, so that's out of the conversation. Maybe a Wang as well. I don't think so. There's a need to play or play the Mbomo position. Of course, as I said, if you don't want to lose out on any money, you don't have any free transfers left. So for a -4, you're probably going to get somebody who's probably going to make your bench, most likely, because this is a very decent team to play with. Unless you want to, you're forcefully playing an Alvarez or an Isak, for example. Maybe you can bench Isak. I mean, again, Tottenham, maybe I still feel Isak is going to score some points, score a goal maybe. But yeah, I don't think so. Though Mbomo definitely needs changing, but maybe you wait out for one more week and see what happens next week. I don't think so. There's a transfer here that's necessary. Hey Surya, hello to you. Your team is Areola, Simicas, Gabriel, Cash, Mbomo, Palmer, Saka, Salah, Mitoma, Watkins, Haaland. Your subs are Lascelles, Porro, Turner, Mubama. Whom to transfer out? 2 free transfers, 0.8 in the bank. I think Mbomo is pretty straightforward. You can take him out. You can get in a Bowen. I think Bowen is really good. You already have Palmer in place and Mitoma in place. I mean, Mitoma for a lot of people is Gordon, so that's okay. Personally, I think I'll play Porro and I won't play Cash. I think first of all, I don't expect Cash to though I do think that there's a slight opportunity for him to start, but I'm not very sure. I do think Porro is going to be okay, and I think unless of course we hear a leak or something, I do think that he's going to be fine. So yeah, I'll take my chances. Even if he gets benched or something, I'll still take my chances with the Porro. And I think, I think I will basically, go for it with the Porro, because there's may not be as good as the clean sheet potential like some other teams, but I do think there's good attacking potential in Porro. So in terms of transfers, though, I think Mbomo out to a Bowen is good, and you just save the other transfer. You don't have to take Cash out. I think Simicas, Gabriel, Lascelles. I think Simicas and Lascelles are probably playing maybe their second last games. I mean, who knows what's going to happen with them. And then there's that Cash issue as well. So probably just save that one free transfer. You just use the Mbomo transfer and go for Bowen. I think Bowen is really, really good. Considering the fact that you already have Palmer, I think Bowen is absolutely fine. And you save the other transfer, basically. Wang, Pascal Gross, Ward-Prowse for a hit? I don't think so. Nobody, I think, for a hit. I think you're okay not going with any of these options. And if I had to go for one, I'll go with Wang, but I don't think so. You have to go for any of these for a hit. Is Ariola playing? He's a doubt. There's some ligament issue in his wrist. I mean, it sounds very serious. It doesn't sound that he'll be in a position to play. But but who knows with Moyes, right? I mean, he's always very very cagey in terms of how he responds or reacts to questions in his press conference. He doesn't really give out much in his pressers as well. I have my doubts with Ariola maybe not playing this week, but again, I won't be surprised if he just randomly or surprisingly starts as well. That's what you get with Moyes. He's a doubt, but he's not confirmed out. That's where we'll probably end it. Luton are good at home, so is Salah for captain the better option? I mean, Luton are decent at home, but it's still Man City at the end of the day, and I do think there's a lot more attacking prowess in a Man City, and plus they'll be angry, right? They have lost out, or they lost out to a much more superior team on that particular day. Aston Villa completely outplayed them, and I do think Pep will expect a response. I think he will get a response from Man City as well. In terms of Rodri playing, I do think I mean there is no flag on him, there is no suspension, nothing like that. So I do think that he should be playing, and if he's playing, I think Haaland does become the better captaincy option. In a regular scenario, I do think Haaland is the slightly better captain this week, and yeah, that's where I am in terms of captaincy. Would you start Mitoma or Palmer or Gordon? I think I will start Mitoma, considering the fact that he's playing Burnley. I think there's potential in this one. I have all, and one will have to sit on the bench. If I'm benching one again, it's a very difficult decision to bench one between a Gordon, a Palmer, a Bowen, for example. But yeah, if you have Mitoma in your team, this is probably one of the fixtures to play him at or play him in. And I think if I'm benching one, I'll probably bench Palmer. It's huge risk. Everton away could be a tricky game for Chelsea, but I do think Mitoma and Gordon have the capabilities, have the fixture this week to outscore Palmer. -4 for bringing in Sanchez, I'm not sure. I mean, if it's Dubravka for a -4, I understand. Decent fixtures, number one choice, better defense than Chelsea, better numbers. Sanchez making a lot more mistakes. Chelsea's defense hasn't been that great. Can we be 100% sure that Sanchez does keep his place? I mean, it's not that they have some great options in terms of goal, but yeah, I do think -4 for Sanchez isn't that great. I'm late today. My uncle passed away. I'm sorry to hear that. May his soul rest in peace. But that's okay, man. It's just a stream. It's absolutely fine. It's just a game. As I said, the much more important things. Of course, if that this thing can distract you and keep you in good spirits, great. But at the end of the day, it's just a game. I just hope you are doing okay and your family is also doing fine. Can't bring in Dubravka. Got 2 new defenders and Gordon. Got Newcastle, sorry. Why am I reading it as new? Can't bring in Dubravka. Got Newcastle defenders. I mean, if you can't bring in Dubravka, I mean, I want to say a name, but I know it's not going to be a very popular option. I think Pickford is a doubt, but I think he's okay. But I mean, it's difficult to recommend Pickford, to be very, very honest. See, Sanchez is a shot in the dark, right? Because we do not know what's going to happen with him. But at that sort of a price point, you have Pickford 4.4. Areola is already 4.3. I mean, there's Flecken, but then he has a blank in game week 18. Though Flecken has decent fixtures, Brentford maybe can keep clean sheets. I mean, he does make some okay saves, but again, you have to kind of deal with that 18 blank as well. So if you have a second option who's a playing option, and who can just cover off your game week 18, I think Flecken could be okay as well. But yeah, other than that, I mean, if I'm taking a hit, I'll probably just go Raya if you have that Arsenal spot open. I'll probably go there. Is the -4 worth it to transfer Porro for Guehi? I think it's okay. May not come off this week. Considering the fact that Tottenham aren't really keeping clean sheets, might take a couple of weeks to to get those points ahead of you. But I do think it's okay to take out Guehi. Crystal Palace aren't keeping clean sheets. Guehi and Anderson, they are costing some decent money. And I think now is a time where we either punt on a Chelsea defender or we, look at our cover-ups or other options in the Newcastle defense or the Arsenal defense as such, right? So I think it's okay taking a hit. Porro, even if, let's say, if he gets a bigger haul one week, he's been unlucky in terms of not getting enough points. I think this question would have been, or the answer to this would have been a lot more confident if he got those points which he kind of dodged in the last couple of weeks. But I do think, yeah, I mean, my score may not work out this week, but I think overall looks okay. I don't think so there's anything wrong with taking a hit. If you start Gabriel over Colwell, I mean, it's Aston Villa at home, so maybe not. But again, I mean, Everton could absolutely smash or thrash Chelsea. I mean, if that happens, you shouldn't be surprised. And that's what's happening with Chelsea, and that's what can happen with Everton. They don't look like a team who's going to get relegated because, of course, of all their points reduction and all that stuff. And yeah, I mean, starting Colwell over Gabriel might not be the worst move of the game week because of the fact that, I mean, Aston Villa at home are a different gravy. They're absolutely different. We've already seen what happened with Man City. Of course, Arteta would have taken some learnings from that game. And let's see if he can adapt to it, because Aston Villa at home are on a absolutely crazy run. And I don't think so that's going to go away anytime soon. So yeah, why not? Take a chance with Colwell. It has to be one of those very unlucky weeks if Gabriel, gets a goal from a set piece and all that stuff, and they get a clean sheet and Gabriel ends up getting a 12, 13, 15 pointer. But I think Colwell over Gabriel this week may not be the worst call. Adingra, Salah, Gordon, Son, and Mbeumo in midfield. Removing Mbeumo, who to get 8.2 million in the bank. I think Bowen is a good option. I've already spoken enough about him. I think over the next couple of weeks, he has some decent fixtures. Main man for West Ham. West Ham are okay in attack. Looks to be okay in terms of not having any injury or not having any niggles, etc. And I think, I think Bowen is a good pick. Who should be my 3 starting defenders? James, Zinchenko, Porro, Walker, Maguire. I mean, I want to start Maguire being the Premier League player of the month, but I think my logic or my brain would probably stop me from doing that. Me being a United fan, maybe a certain bias there, but yeah, I mean, that's a conversation for a different time. I think if I have James, I'll start James for sure. Zinchenko, James, and Porro. I think these are 2 definite options, and I'll start. Maybe Walker as well. I think against Luton, maybe keeps that clean sheet. So I think it's going to be Maguire definitely gets benched. I think James, Porro, and Walker would be my 3. Zinchenko, first of all, there's a slight doubt in terms of his minutes. So I do think that he's going to start this week. But again, with Aston Villa away and Aston Villa playing at home, can we really guarantee that he gets a clean sheet? Maybe not. There could still be some attacking threat or attacking potential in him, but I do think clean sheet potential is less this week. So I think it's James, Porro, and Walker. Will Lascelles start? He should. Botman is back in training, but I don't think so Botman starts this week, unless I've missed out or on something which was out there. I'll just quickly check again, but I do think Botman is still not ready yet in terms of making a start. Lascelles was a dead leg, so I don't think so. It's a serious injury as well. I think he should be okay. Bowen, Foden, Martinelli. I think out of these 3, Bowen, if you're really feeling spicy, maybe Foden, but he's not done much in terms of returns to really convince us to go there. And I think Bowen has. Plus, with Man City, there's always a doubt whether, Foden's going to be the assister, Haaland will score all the goals, whether there's somebody that can get those attacking returns, whether maybe they get a goal or few from a set piece or a couple of set pieces and those defenders score goals. So it's difficult to pinpoint where those goals are going to come from apart from Haaland. I think it's because of that fact Foden has probably not been spoken about at all in the community. And I think Bowen is probably the better option to go here. Gordon or Maguire, always prefer the attacker. Even if it's Tottenham again. So there is potential for Gordon to get some goals, get some points. I think he should be fine. He should start. So definitely Gordon over Maguire this week. Yeah. Guys, 3 minutes to go. Quickly check your teams. Quickly save your teams. Do not keep it till the very end. You just never know when the servers are going to crash, and it can happen anytime. But yeah, in case if you have Areola, if you don't have a free transfer available, just play him. In case if you have a cover goalkeeper, just play that goalkeeper. Just keep Areola in your starting 11, and then just hope that he starts. In case if you have a free transfer available, in case if you're okay taking a hit there as well, I mean, Dubravka is absolutely fine there as well. Do you really think Bournemouth will score? I mean, I do think Bournemouth has the potential to score, and I do think Man United has all the ingredients to concede. So I mean, there is a good chance that United. It's at home. It's at Old Trafford, so maybe the chances are slightly less, and it's an away game for Bournemouth. But I do think Bournemouth has the potential to score this week, and that's where we leave it. There's a couple of more minutes. Please feel free to add or ask any more questions if you have. In case if this was helpful and useful, again, thank you so much for joining the stream. I hope you have a good week. All the best for game week 16. And of course, we'll be back for game week 17 as well. Salah got rested, right? I mean, Salah has not gotten a rest in a long time, especially in the Premier League. And I think, I mean, I don't think so. This is one of those weeks where he'll get rested. I think he will play. Maybe he didn't get rested, but he got taken off a lot earlier in the last game. I think he played about 66 minutes. So I expect him to start this week. No worries there. I think he should be okay. Stufal or Dingra, who to start? I again, as I said, always prefer the attacker. I think I'll go with the Dingra. I mean, the Brighton Burnley game is one game where any of those Brighton options can get something, right? Because of the fact that Burnley also plays in a very attacking way, they're not going to defend. Then they don't focus on defending. They're probably not even good at it. And I think, Adingra is the one to go for here. I'll also quickly check my team. So it's Haaland captain, Salah vice captain, Cash on the bench, Areola on the bench, and Dubravka starting. Already made my move from Mbeumo to Palmer. We have 1.8 million in the bank. And that's deadline, guys. The site's also updating. And that is deadline. I hope you were able to make your transfers, able to make your moves, your captaincy on the right captain. Yeah. Thank you so much again for joining. I hope you have a great week. Do watch the games. I think it's always good to get some eye test, by yourself, gain some perspective in terms of what's happening on the field, which players needs to be targeted, and just again, for the love of football, I think it's always just good to spend your weekends, of course, watching games. I think we'll leave it there. We'll be back for game week 17. Of course, I don't think so. It's again the regular deadline. It's probably a day or few hours earlier at least. It's on a Saturday. I think it's Saturday midnight or something like that, IST. But yeah, we'll of course keep you guys posted. In case if you have anything to ask, anything to talk about, you can always reach out to me on Instagram. In case if this was helpful, please hit the like button. Again, it really helps us and motivates us to come back stronger every week. And if you're new around here, we do these deadline streams every week. There's a lot of content that goes out on Instagram as well, so you can always check out our channel. And if you like it, you can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter as well. Yeah, we'll call it a day, and thank you so much again for joining. I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Bye bye.